right.
I think I put the pen.
So I've got 10 things up here. I've got 10 things up here. I'd love to talk to you about each one of them. But why don't you guys pick a couple, and we'll start there.
Getting.
Good.
I'm like banking.
Earning.
Oh, I need to talk.
Earning?
I need to learn about budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Retirement.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
Saving.
Managing comfort versus bargain hunting.
Okay. All right.
I picked two. I was only supposed to pick one. I'm sorry.
College. College. Okay.
Insurance, cars, online banking, debt. What?
All right.
I'm not inspired.
So I got 5.
That's
So
No,
what's that?
they're for you.
Everyone pick one, and we'll start there.
College.
more sugar.
Okay. Raise your hand for giving. If you want to start there.
Wait, what?
Raise your hand if you want to start giving. Raise your hand if you want to start a budget.
Oh, man.
All right. We'll do that.
Are we talking about how to make one or how to stick to one?
Yes.
Both.
Both. We're talking about both.
Okay. Yay.
So, bring this over here. So you guys can hear it later if you want. Actually, let me get this. So, you guys remember when Ken came and shared? And kind of talked about how budgets work and things like that?
I do not remember.
Okay, so basically, here is an Excel spreadsheet. I like to use Excel. If you would rather not use Excel, that's totally fine. You can use whatever spreadsheet type of program you want. I think there's other ways to do it, but you can do it on paper if you'd like. So what you do,
Ew, paper.
what's that?
I said ew, paper.
You do paper, like that. So a budget, so the purpose of a budget. Who knows the purpose of a budget?
Organize your money.
Good, what else?
It's not
To proportionally divide up how to spend your money.
Good. What else?
Same.
Okay. So there are 2 things. We'll say a handful of things, but number 1, in order to know how much money you can spend, you need to know how much money you have. A bank account does not capture that information, right? Because how many of you get paid, and you're like, okay, I got to pay this bill, this bill, this bill, and then you pay it, and then all your money's gone, right? Okay, so a budget, in part, is input, right? So we're not going to do that right now in that way. But money coming in, and then there's a column, money coming out. A lot of times these will be, oh my gosh, excuse me, green and red, or red and blue, whatever. Red is negative numbers, blue is positive numbers, okay? So basically the idea is this. Every month I get income. And on a regular basis, so you do a monthly budget typically because you get bills monthly, right? You don't get paid monthly, you get bills monthly. So that's what it's based on. Income and then bills. And so like let's say we're in what month are we in? September?
Well, October's next month. So.
October.
September.
Yes, let's.
Okay. So
October.
here's what you do. This is gonna be weird, but okay. No, this shouldn't say month up here. Sorry. Let's not do that.
I already wrote mine.
I know, I'm sorry. So the idea is this. Okay, so for, let's say the whole thing is for September, okay? In September, you got paid weekly, okay? So every month you get $100, or every week you get $100. Hopefully you all are making more money than that, but if not, that's okay. Here's the thing. There is never a case where you don't have enough money to budget. You can always budget because if you've got here $400, you know exactly how much you can spend each month, right? But let's say your bills are cell phone, which is $50 a month, okay? And then you've got car insurance, which is that's your case, probably $150, $200 a month.
Mine's
Well-
100.
Well, your parents probably have it in their name. It's probably not in your name.
I was gonna say I don't believe that.
So we'll say
You're
150 just for even numbers, and then you've got gas. Everyone's probably paying close to $50 in gas a month, maybe more depending on how much you drive. Probably way more for you.
I pay like $40 a week.
Yeah, but you're not the norm, so we'll put 50. Okay?
That's what I pay a week
What?
for gas. It's $40.
I think 20 a week.
Amazing.
Okay, so we put bills. We put bills here, right? Okay, so and then the way it kind of works out is you say, okay, I'm gonna spend just with these numbers $300, right? No, sorry, $250. That's $250 out of the $400. So that leaves $150. Sorry, this is not, Excel works differently. I can show you, I can do an Excel like how-to if you need it, but the idea is you want to put in all the bills, everything you're going to pay out, everything you're going to get in, and figure out how much money you have left to, that's your wiggle room, right? In this case, you would have $150 left for food, for any other bills you have, for gas is not in there, activities, movies, entertainment. And so we kind of talked about whenever Kim came that you want to have like the proportion of luxury items compared to the proportion of necessities. And it's easy when you get paid to say, right now I've got $100 in my account and my only bills are $50. So I can spend $50, that's how much I have. And then that would leave you $50 left over, right? So you spend that on, a new video game came out. I want to buy it. Okay, so now I have $5 left because I bought the video game. Minus 45. I don't know how much it costs, whatever. So you have $5 left. Whoop, that's a bad 5. And then you get paid again, $100, and you have $105. How much do you have in bills?
150.
See how that works? So this is where we get in trouble because we think, okay, well, I've got this money now, $50 in my account, I don't have anything to pay, so I can spend it. Well, then here comes another bill. So this is why we plan it out, and we say, okay, we've got this much money coming out, and every month I'll have $100 to $150 to spend, but if I spend it over here, then I'm going to be in trouble here. So that's how we budget and plan ahead. So budgeting is purely just planning ahead, saying, I know how much I can spend, and I know when I can spend it, and just having the awareness to do it. Cool? Does that make sense? I can show you guys, I can give you a tutorial on how to actually do it. I'm not going to do that because I don't think that's for everyone. But this is the idea.
You mean like a tutorial on Excel spreadsheets?
Sure. There's different ways to do it. And honestly, the way I do it might not be the best way, but it's simple for me. I just it's all just like a list, and I say, okay, here are all my bills, and then there's a second one, here are all my incomes, and it kind of just pops out, okay, well, this is what you've got. So, but if I can send you a link, or I don't mind doing it, but YouTube probably has great options on what's the best method for budgeting.
Right.
But this is the whole purpose of a budget, to make sure that we're not spending more than we have. And the other cool thing is you can put this other bill right here, $10 for saving.
Yay.
Right? Then you would only have $140 there, but it's built in. So you can have that planned ahead. And the difficult thing is, like we talked about earlier, if you have the money in your account, it's easy to say, oh, I can spend it. But you have to have the foresight to say, what's coming? I want to save $10. I want to have $50 for gas, things like that. So it's, that's the idea. Cool? Any questions before we go to topic number 2? Did you feel like I covered that adequately?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
I feel like we all know how to budget. It's sticking with it. That's the
Sticking with
problem.
it. There. Okay. So that is called wisdom and discipline, because like we talked about, how many of you guys have been in week 2 situation? I know I was. Of course, you guys are often living at home, or like your parents, like actually half and half, whatever. But if you get in trouble, there's someone that can help you. Oh, I've got $105, but I have $150 worth of bills. What do? Well, here's $45. Don't do it again. Well, okay, so that happens, and it's tough. But the idea and how we stick to this is by saying next week, until just going through the month and saying, I feel like this is a trick question, because if you just do it, you'll know.
Yeah.
And you'll say, well, okay, I'm going to starve on week 4 if I spend all my money on week 1. And so it's just saying, okay, what's the,
What's more important?
essentially, yeah, you have to say, I know what's coming. If you know what's coming, you can prepare for it. But if you're like, if you're here, you can't see any of this, and you're here, you're like, sweet, $50. That's great. But if you see the whole picture, then you can act on the whole picture. So sticking with it is nothing more than just seeing what's coming and acting on it. Knowing, hey, I'm going to be in trouble if I don't put away $20 for gas. So that, I mean, really, that's all it amounts to. Is there's no really, I mean, just having the information, I think everyone will stick to it if they have the information. As a general rule, unless they're a maniac and just don't really care.
It's hard for me to budget because I don't really spend on anything, the money. It's just that I work way far away from my house and it costs me $15 each time to get home, and I have no money every week because I Uber home from work.
Yes.
So that's the hardest thing for me. I do save money, but it's barely.
Sure.
So
And
it's
that's,
not, you know, it's not that because I spend on something. I spend on something that I'm, you know,
Sure.
school-wise, buying tickets so I can ride a bus.
right.
And I don't get paid much at the old department.
So there is very rarely a income problem. It's almost always outgo problem in terms of people being broke all the time. It's typically an outgo problem. Now, in your case, you're in a very difficult and unique situation, I'd say, Katie. But
It's
There-
not that I'm spending now.
right.
I was just, yeah.
But there are potentially alternatives to your problem, right? So I say problem. Your situation, I think, is more accurate because the condition is that you're needing a ride. So and that's just part of it. So if you need a ride, then it's built into your budget that you have. Every time you go to work, it's going to cost you this much to get there, or you know.
That's what I budget for.
Right, that's your budget, exactly. And so, yeah, that's definitely part of it. And it's. I think at a certain point we have to say, okay, I'm using the money I have wisely. Now I want to make more, and that's where you go. Like, you don't want to say, my problem is I don't have enough money, so I'm going to make more money, and then still live out of control. You want to have a budget so you're in control, and then as you make more money, the budget can grow. But you know what? The cool thing is, here's the cool thing. Let's say you make this much money, okay? Okay, this is the $400, right? And then let's say your bills are $350. Didn't we say $350?
We said 250.
$250. Okay, so
Oh,
$250.
yeah.
Just a minute ago. Whoops. So here we are, $150 left from here to here, right?
Mhm.
So what's cool about this is if you live this way, let's say you get $100 a month bump. So now you're at $500. But this number doesn't need to change. Just because this number changed doesn't mean this number changes.
Right.
You guys understand that? It's a pretty simple thing. So instead of having $150, you're up here to having 500. Sorry, is that right?
250.
Sorry. No.
Yeah.
150. Yes, thank you. Sorry. So now you have $250 every month that you can do something else with, or you can save. And so as your income increases, this doesn't need to increase. I mean, having kids, getting married, things like that will cost more money. However, if you're just living on your own and doing your own thing, this number can stay small. And that's kind of where we get into this thing here a little bit. Just spending our money wisely and knowing that if we're always spending less than we're making, we're in really good shape. Cool. All right.
I like to take, like, when I used to save up, when I didn't work far away, I used to take, depends how much you make, and I divide my money into, you know, like, let's say if I make 400, I take 200 out of 400 every paycheck.
Right.
That goes into my savings.
Sure. So that is it's good. Saving is easiest when you don't give yourself a choice.
Yeah, or like, you know, when you give to church,
Right.
you do, you know, times how much you make. 10% or 20, depends how much you make.
Right. Cool. Anyone want to go on further into that? Everyone have a working understanding of budgeting and why and how? Cool. Okay, it sounds like one of those big scary words, but it doesn't need to. It's the only reason to budget is to protect your own future. My mom last week told my son, Rylan, something. She said, because Rylan is very bad about doing what he wants to do right now and not worrying about later. And so she said, so you have to ask yourself this question, would the Rylan of tomorrow be happy with the Rylan of today? And what you've done, accomplished, whatever. And so Rylan basically has to say, am I going to be happy with myself tomorrow if I don't do this today? No. So he's learning discipline, self-discipline to do it today. So it's kind of the same thing. We have to be disciplined to protect our tomorrows, ourselves for tomorrow. Anyway, a lot of this is about that. Just self-discipline so we protect our future, our next step, whatever. Anyway, what else? We kind of went over budgeting. Anything else you...
Managing comfort and bargain versus bargaining. The last one.
Let's stay here. Okay, so...
Confused by that.
And then we've also got retirement. So, Emma said retirement. So, who wants managing comfort versus bargain hunting? And retirement. Not a lot of opinions here. Okay, cool. So, there's a guy that I met with. His name's Noah Paris. He's my financial planner. He does a lot of retirement here. He taught me recently, actually, a principle. So, it's a rule that is called the 70, 15, 15.
Okay.
And that rule is, this is what you live on. This is your life, and you don't go above 70%. And then 15 is saving. Whoop. And then the other 15 is, what does he call it? Retirement, but he calls it something else.
Saving for
Afterlife.
Well, I can't remember. Anyway, the idea is like 401k, things like that. So, retirement. Saving for retirement is a tough thing, but the cool thing about saving for retirement is whenever you work at a job, they take it out before you get it. So essentially, if we go back to this, well, just lost my balance for a second. The $400, right? And then you got the $250 here. And so you have the $150 gap. Well, let's say you have grown accustomed to using that $150 each month for food, hanging out with friends, movies, whatever, and then you get a bump to $500. So you could very easily take this $500 immediately and put it into your 401k, into your retirement. So the purpose is, if you put in a little bit of money now, do you guys understand how retirement works in general?
A little bit.
Okay, so how it works is, if I have $10, I'll give it to you right now, and they put it into things called mutual funds. You guys heard of these? Mm-hmm. Mutual funds are a group of stocks, things like that, like Morgan Stanley, there's a ton of companies, Northwestern, they have these companies that they work with who pick these mutual funds, which essentially, a mutual fund is all of you put money into the same stock, and so it's not like, the reason they do that is because it spreads, it makes it much safer when there's a lot of money, a bigger pot. And so a mutual fund is just a collection of people who put money into a collection of stocks. And they're managed typically by a company. You can put money into each of these stocks individually, but it's almost always collectively better to use mutual funds because they are steady. So they say something like a mutual fund will get you 12% a year, typically. Something around there, between 8 and 15, but 10 to 12 is good. So basically, the rule of thumb is this. Inflation every year is like 3%, or
3 to 4.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So if you're taking your money right now and putting it into, okay, let's say we got $100. So next year, this $100 would be $103, right? Because of inflation. So that's not money coming in, it's money going out. So you have this $100. I'm going back and forth on that, but just work with me. So if you make 10% this year, it's going to be $110 next year, right? Okay, and then the following year, it'll be 121, right? Is that math good?
Yeah.
Okay, so as it grows faster and faster and gets bigger and bigger, and it essentially, it's a bet, right? This is kind of gambling in a way. So what you're doing is you're saying, I want my money to grow faster than inflation. And that's it. If inflation is going up 3% and you're going 10%, you're going to have more money than you put in. It's pretty simple logic. That's kind of the point of it. And so the challenge becomes, it stays in this account. You don't see this until you're 65. It's gone. That's that. But when you get to 65, if you got $300 in your account, I'm going to work till I'm dead. Okay. So that's why we take this sacrifice now, and later we have the money. So like I said, the 70, 15, 15. So if you make $100, $400 a week, or a month, excuse me. So 15% of that would be 15 times 4 is $60 a month. $60 a month is what you would be putting into your retirement if you're using this 70, 15, 15. And this other, yes, for saving and things like that. So that's the idea. Retirement, 401ks, and there's different types of 401ks. There's a Roth.
Medical insurance, you forgot the main part.
What's that?
Medical insurance, when you turn 26, everybody needs to pay for medical insurance.
That is true.
Some people can't.
I had to pay when I was 18. But yes, medical insurance is a necessity. But it's not a retirement issue. That is just an issue
Yeah, but
in
I'm
itself.
saying just that's also, part of money budgeting.
Yes, definitely is. Yes. So there's different types of retirement accounts. So there's a 401k. Has everyone heard of that?
Yeah.
They're a traditional 401k. So basically, what happens is you put money in, and then it grows and grows and grows, and then whenever you take it out, you pay taxes on it. So you don't take it out until you're 65, and then you take it like a paycheck. So if you take out $100, you have to pay taxes on the $100. Okay? There's another kind. It's called a Roth 401k, which 401k is a term that means it goes through your employer. You can do IRAs, which are individual retirement accounts that have nothing to do with an employer, and it's also not a 401k. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there are two different kinds. One's for work, that's a 401k. The other, you can do your own investing, which is an IRA, individual retirement account. So, I know this stuff gets really boring, I'm sorry. So Roth means you pay taxes on it when you put it in. So, basically, if you put in $100 in a Roth, you pay taxes before it goes in. So maybe you only have $80
Instead of 100.
instead of 100. But whenever this grows and grows and grows,
You don't have to pay taxes on it.
this one you don't. This is a Roth.
Right.
Roth, and this is traditional.
Gotcha.
So whenever you pull it out, so let's say you have $1,000, in 10 years, whatever. When you pull this out, you have to pay taxes on it.
Uh-huh.
And so, I don't know, whatever. It's fine. So the Roth, it grows untaxed. So that means every dollar that's in your account, if you pull it out the right way, you get every bit of it. The government gets none. Cool? Does that make sense, the difference between Roth and traditional?
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, what's the benefit to a Roth over a traditional? Like, is a Roth gonna grow quicker than a traditional, or is...
No.
It's just when you pay the taxes.
Yeah.
So what the general rule of thumb that I've heard is the later you are in life. So two sides of this. Jen and I, we put in half Roth, half traditional. And the reason is because it's always best to diversify. So as a rule. But they say whenever you're younger, so you do start with less money. So if you have more time for it to grow, it grows more. But, so like, what's that?
And it depends how much you make.
Right. And so, but if you don't have a long time, if you've only got 10 years to save up for your retirement, you probably want to go with traditional. Because you can put a lot more money in, and the government doesn't take any, and then it can grow. So that's the kind of the idea. It'll grow faster. This will grow faster, traditional, but it'll cost you more to pull out.
Okay.
So it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of just.
It's like,
I prefer to pay first myself because I want to know. Yeah, I want to know what's actually here. And if I pull $1,000 out, I'm paying 30% on that. So they're going to take out what, $300? Yeah. So that's not cool. But here, if that takes 10 years, and this maybe I have 800 after 10 years. I don't know, maybe more, maybe less. But that would be better. You know, you see the idea?
Yeah.
But it's always best to diversify. Don't just bet everything on one. That's a fool's thing. Don't do that. That's dumb. Unless it's like,
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
yeah, absolutely. So 70, 15, 15. That's an important rule. If you're living off of more than 70% of your income, then you cannot save. And well, you might be able to, but it's not going to be more than a couple dollars. So something to think about. What else? Retirement. Any other questions about retirement?
When do you think it's best to start retirement? Like
Now.
putting.
So,
Like if you have no money, then.
well, it's always, so the earlier the better, because as we see, the longer it's in there, the more it grows.
Yeah.
So the earlier the better. There's tons of financial gurus that talk about Roth IRAs, and they do this. Okay, so you guys understand the idea of exponential growth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so if you put $2,000 in a Roth IRA at 20 years old, and let me think,
That's
hold on.
45 years.
What's that?
That's 45 years to 65.
Well, there's if you put $2,000 a year for 10 years, from 20 to 30, and that's it. You don't touch it again after that, and leave it till you're 65. It's going to be over $1 million. That's or like maybe $1.5 million, something like that. So the idea is the earlier you put it in, the longer it can grow, the more money it'll make. So, like if you could, honestly, you can start an IRA for $50. It won't do well necessarily, and each company probably requires a fee to use their services. So like if you use a CD, a simple CD, which is not a retirement account, it's typically a term, you'll make money, but it won't be very much, and it won't be accessible for a couple of years. But the sooner the better. And typically what you will kind of look for is you get out of college, and that's when you really start thinking, okay, I need to start saving, I need to start putting into retirement. For me, I only did 1 year of college, and so when I started really putting into my retirement when I was 22. So, yeah. It's kind of different for everyone, but I was also making good money, and I didn't want to spend. I wanted to prepare for later, essentially. So, yeah. Any other questions about retirement?
Sorry, I'm standing up.
You falling asleep? Katie, have some drinks.
That was me last week.
Here, have some cookies.
Can I get this?
Can I choose something else?
Katie, I feel insulted. But sure.
I'm just sorry.
Yo, toss me those cookies.
I like you. I like you. I like you, Carlos.
All right. Anything else about retirement? Do you guys have any more questions? Anything unclear?
Yep.
Cool.
Let's
All
go
right.
into debt.
Well,
Let's not go into debt. Let's stay out of debt.
Yeah, let's stay out of there.
well, okay. Let's tackle this one first because Jonathan wanted to talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is an interesting topic: managing comfort versus bargain shopping.
I would.
So it's a very simple premise. Okay, here we go. We've got a car. It's going to be very basic and square. Okay, there's a car, and here's
It's a
another
hat.
car. Shh, not a hat. Here's another car. This one costs $10,000. This one costs $2,000.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Okay, so if you buy the $2,000 car, what do you think you can expect?
Maybe
Probably.
it breaks down a bit more often.
Yes.
Maybe it's more height maintenance because it's in disrepair.
And maybe it doesn't ride as smoothly.
right?
Doesn't
And what
have
can you
all these
expect
features.
out of this car?
It
Newer.
should hold up for a while.
It's probably got better mileage, depending on the type of car.
Yes, you're right. So, all of these things are true. So, the idea of managing comfort versus bargain hunting, you can spend $2,000 and buy a car. Is it going to be a car worth having? You can spend $10,000 and have all the bells and whistles. Is it a car worth having? You can have leather seats and they can be, fancy and all that and have a GPS, whatever. You can spend a lot of money and get all those things. So, the idea is, we always want to be somewhere between here and here. And this is not just cars, this is with everything. So, with a car, you never, you don't want to go buy a Lexus because it has this cool heated steering wheel and it's got all this whatever nonsense.
Is that
It's-
what you want?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's actually got a heated steering wheel?
Yes.
What?
Some certain cars do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What?
It's ridiculous. But
Why?
the idea is, this is a comfort that no one ever needs, right? And so the idea is we want to be comfortable. We don't want to bargain hunt so much that we put ourselves out of a car in 6 months, but we don't want to spend so much money because we want to be comfortable. We have to find this middle ground, right?
So like 5,000.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Right.
But the idea is universal. So let's talk about clothes. Where do you guys clothes shop? Internet, good.
I don't.
Target,
Target, good.
Kohl's, occasionally a Bowers, they've got 50% off sales.
So this is the other thing, because if you go clothes shopping and spend $100 at Ross, okay, you guys know Ross? It's like discount name brands, okay? I think, well, not right now, but I often shop at Ross, and I didn't before Jen, so
I like Ross.
Ross is great because, I bought a pair. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's kind of the same thing. You can buy a nice Abercrombie or Polo or whatever. I don't know brands, but whatever. You can buy nice brands of clothing and look nice and spend lots of money. Or you can do something else and not be so comfortable. Instead, come a little closer to here. Of course, we don't want to shop at, thrift store. I mean, sometimes it's okay to shop at a thrift store for certain types of things, but as a rule, we want to be in the middle ground, right? You want to get, Ross is great.
Realistically, what he's trying to say, do you
Yeah,
buy
yeah.
what you choose?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need to go shopping like a crazy person. You also don't need to pinch pennies and say, I can't afford to buy underwear, so I'm just going to do something weird.
To a street.
Yeah.
You guys don't do
So, it's the idea is the same. Apartments. You can go find an apartment for $200 a month on the north side of town.
No thanks.
Why? You'll save a ton of money. Danger, yes.
Danger.
But you can also buy one.
For 600 and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So it's the same idea. There's things that we need to weigh. You don't just always look for the cheapest price. You don't always look for the comfort. We have to find the balance, and we never want to be the extremes. Always stay away from these extremes. Moderation is the key. So that's managing comfort versus bargain hunting. The idea is just don't be like a crazy person on either side. My first apartment that I ever had, me and a roommate, we were paying $550 a month between the two of
That's
us.
pretty good.
It's good. Super cheap, right? 51st and Memorial. Sounds like a nice place. My roommate had a nice-ish car. In the year we lived there, his car got broken into twice.
Oh, Lord.
So, sure, he was paying $275 a month. You know how much a window costs to replace?
A lot.
500.
About $275 a month, maybe.
Well, it's a couple hundred. It's a couple hundred. So, when it was all said and done, maybe we only paid $275 a month, but he had an extra $500-$600 throughout that course of a year that he had to pay. So that puts that about $325, $400, or $350. So there's risk and there's reward, but just there's things to look for and just be wise whenever you're doing these things. Always operate here in the middle. Don't be like me and try to save money no matter what.
Like Goldilocks and the Three
Well,
Bears.
the trick is you get beautiful clothing or beautiful thing, but it always turns into ugly beautiful things always starting to trouble. That's what I noticed with clothing. No matter, I bought an expensive dress for $100.
Mm.
I put it on. I did not even wear it in 2 days. It looked just like every other clothing.
Yeah.
And I realized it doesn't matter.
That's right.
It matters how much you spend, but not, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really teaches you the quality.
Yeah.
It
That's right.
shows you that.
That's right. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Okay. So
Let's
debt.
call it a night.
Oh, you want to stop?
Debt.
Debt.
Yeah, it's-
Harrison wants to go into debt. All right, let's hear it.
My favorite topic by far,
Oh, here we go.
because I have such strong feelings on debt.
Debt.
Debit. Debt is an interesting thing. So it's a general, okay, so the Bible talks about debt. It says, no man money, or whatever. I don't have the scripture reference. We can look it up later. But the idea of debt is, I'm going to pay for something with money I don't have, and then return that money to someone else later. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine, I wrote this analogy down, it's really funny. Imagine you're at home and you're hungry. So you eat a meal and then you cook it. This is essentially what we're talking about. So debt, you're getting the benefit of the work, but not paying for it till later. So essentially we're saying, okay, I'm going to eat this cooked meal and then later I'm going to cook it. Well, no, you're not going to cook it later. That's not going to happen. You already ate it, so you're not going to cook the meal. So it's essentially, debt is like saying, I want that car, but I'm not going to pay for it. Sorry. And then you have to pay for it every month for 5 years.
I took a loan for school because I can't afford it. And
Mm-hmm.
it cost me $17,600, I think, for the class. And so I can't imagine how I'm going to pay it back.
But I feel like a lot of the problem is too nowadays you have to have a credit score for a few things.
Okay.
So you have to.
Well, there's an easy solution for that, or at least what I would do in that scenario is you get like just a gas card. You get a credit card that you only use for gas. You've only got maybe $100 on it. $100 is easy to pay monthly.
Yeah.
You just pay that and you only use that card for gas money.
It also
I've,
helps you build up credit.
Yeah, because that's just easy to pay off, and the credit is based on how consistent and faithful you are.
I got a car loan recently. I bought a car for $9,000 roughly, and I put $4,000 down, $5,000 on the loan.
So there is plenty of argument about you need credit for buying things. In my life, I will tell you with confidence that you don't. You can buy just about anything you want without credit, even a house.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea that you need debt in order to do what? The only reason you need debt is to get more debt. So that is a fallacy that everyone believes. That is nonsense, because they all want you to have debt. Everyone.
My manager at the bank about this.
It's true. I mean, if you're not intending to go into debt, you don't need any debt ever.
Yeah.
Like this car loan, okay, it helps with credit. So what are you gonna do with the credit?
I don't have to answer that yet.
You'll probably want to get a loan for something else or a credit card, and to borrow money from someone else.
I don't want to get. See,
You shouldn't. It's terrible. But that's the whole purpose. If you this idea that you need to build credit is just so you can obtain debt. That's all credit does. Now people say, well, I need to buy a house. Yeah, okay. But you can buy a house without debt. You can get a home loan without having credit. It's a different process, but it's still very possible. You have to have more money down, okay, and you have to typically have a better, you have to have a job for a certain amount of time, things like that. But credit does not mean you get a house. If you do not have a good debt-to-income ratio, if you are making $1,000 a month and you are paying $300, $400 worth of payments every month, they're not going to say, oh yeah, you've got great credit. Here, have this house. They're going to say, no, you have too much debt. You cannot have this house. You cannot afford it. So there's this side of it. Everyone's like, oh, you have to have credit. You don't. It's nonsense. That being said, there are perks, like Jonathan was talking about. I am very much on this side of the fence, like no debt ever.
Mhm.
My wife is on this side of the fence where she says some debt's okay. And so like we go back and forth on that. But what we decided on together is we have, 4 credit cards. We use none of them. Every month we put our gas, like Jonathan was saying, on one of the cards. And that's it. Every month we pay it off. And the entire reason for it is because that $200 we spend every month in gas, we make cash back on it, which this is where I conceded it because I'm like, whatever. It's, maybe we make $20 a year, whatever. So, it's my concession.
Yeah.
Being married, there's concessions. So, and they're like, if you're in control of this, if you're not being willy-nilly, I've got $10,000 credit card, I'll buy all this stuff, then you're probably fine. But
There's another thing how you can save. You have like 3 jars. One jar is spending on for giving for church, another jar is to savings, and another jar, once a week to do something fun.
We had that growing up as a kid. It was
Three
super
jars, and there's a Christian guy who teaches them finance, and that's what he's been teaching.
yeah,
Teaching young adults, teaching married couples.
Yeah.
And it helped, I will say, hundreds of people.
sure, I believe that. Yeah.
To get, yeah.
I am all for saving money however you can possibly do it. So great, yeah. So debt. Any questions about that?
Will hankies be mandatory?
So the cool thing about debt, and so you said you got a $5,000 note on your car, and so over the next 4 years, is it a 4-year note?
I think it's a 2 or 3 year note.
Okay, so
It's a 3-year, 72 months.
72 months is 5 years.
Oh, what?
No, sorry, 6 years. Whoa, wait, hold on.
How long is that?
Come on.
Yeah,
man.
72 months is 6 years.
That's, 6, okay. I don't know what I'm thinking.
But okay, so you got a 6-year note, so you got a brand new car.
It's not brand new, it's 2013.
Okay,
It's newer.
so you got a tiny car.
Tiny car?
Yeah, what kind of car is it?
2013 Honda Fit.
Yes, tiny car. Yes, that's what Jonathan drives. So
When's
that's
2013?
Yours is a
Yours is 2007.
That's what I thought.
But it's the same fit.
That's
It's a
what I
fit.
thought.
Anyway, so you got a $5,000 note on this car to pay off over 6 years. So here's the cool thing, and if having the note, obviously it would be best if you didn't. But you have this note. So what you can do. So have you heard of amortization?
what?
Amortization. Have you heard of that? Okay. So amortization, big word. There are 2 parts to every loan: principal. I think I spelled it right. And interest.
I think it's LE.
Well, that's a different type of principal.
Oh.
But I can't remember which one's which. But maybe it is LE.
Well, because the
Principal
pal
is
is your
like the
buddy.
Okay, so it is LE. Okay. Okay.
Maybe.
So principal.
I guess it can still be a pal.
E. Okay, fine. So principal means money that goes towards your car. Interest means money that goes towards the bank. Okay? So at the beginning of your note in year 1, so you have 6 years. 2, oops, that's a 6. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Year 1, you're going to be at 90% interest and 10% principal. Does that make sense to you? So you're paying the bank. So if you pay $200 a month,
I pay $100 a month.
okay, so the bank is getting 90 of that, and you're getting 10. Okay, so and then year 2, and it goes all the way down till it's reversed, 90 and 10. So like 25, 75. Oh, oops, go down some. 75.
So what you're saying is it would probably be best to pay like the minimum I have to pay every month, and then like the last year just completely wipe it out.
So the opposite.
Oh.
And the reason is because
Yeah.
most loans, most debt is in such that if you pay extra principal, it takes the term down. So like for instance, at this point, if you owe $6,000, said 5,000. Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll do 6. And then after 1 year, you'll owe 5,500. And then 2 years, 4,500, whatever. Okay, so the principal, how much is left on the balance, is what determines the length. So for instance, if in the first year you knock it down to 4,000, so your note goes down to year 3. So now you're at 50 and 50.
Yeah.
So wherever your principal is, that's where your payment is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you get it down, if you only owe 1,000, then you're going to be paying it off super quick.
Yeah.
But you have to get that number. That's 100.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah. So the more paid off it is, the less the bank gets. So keep that money away from the bank.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? We've covered a few topics.
You said keep money away from the bank, but you're telling me to pay more to the bank sooner.
No. You're paying yourself.
Yeah, I know.
You're the principal.
Yeah.
This money is yours because it's
See, it's a pal.
Did you look it up?
what's the word I'm thinking?
What? No.
This payment goes directly into the value of your car. So this is actually your money. The car, the Honda Fit, it is this money.
Yeah.
So, yeah.